Yeah.
Good rehearsal, guys. Let's take it from the top. And acting.
Now?
Go.
Welcome out.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Renatus Radio.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Renatus J.A.M. I'm Jay Stark.
And I'm Matt Snyder.
And we are joined today by none other than the illustrious Mr. Troy Dunn.
Two N's.
Two N's. You have to drag that out a little. Dunn.
Yep.
And if you're Troy, you got to drop it right at the end. Dunn.
Troy Dunn.
Oh,
See?
oh, yes.
End podcast.
See, he can say his own voice or his own name on the podcast.
This is already the weirdest podcast I've ever done. I'm just saying.
Well, you
We're
haven't done
already
one
there.
with us.
It's awesome, though. Hi, everybody in Renatus Nation land, world, Jam land.
Jam land. Jam land.
I
There we
think
go.
you just started something.
There we
Jamland.
go. Jam land. The Framley.
Yep.
Framley goes to Jam land.
I have a talk tape out there called Jam Sandwiches.
Nice.
Yeah, just saying.
There you go.
Plug.
Little self-promotion there. I like it. So I've got a bunch of questions for you.
Can I just first say that you'll never see me like this again, and I apologize that it's here. I actually thought the podcast was audio only. And I told my kids that for 2 weeks during quarantine, I'd be willing to not shave because they always wanted to see me like that. And that's why I look like
We all
Fantastic.
know-
I
You
developed
look
a meth
fantastic.
habit or something.
We all know the truth here, which
No.
is that you saw Jay's beard and thought to yourself, I want one of those.
No, the opposite. I saw it and I said, I could never pull that off the way you do because you make beards look great.
Yes.
I look like I've
You
got a
do.
chemical substance addiction
Yeah.
and I've let myself go. So anyway, it won't be that way again. I apologize for this.
I'm
Sorry,
so-
Mom. My mom's gonna be like,
Okay.
really? You went on camera like that? Sorry.
Oh, man. You know,
Oh, that's awesome.
so when Bob first mentioned that he was bringing you in to have a conversation the very first time, I looked at him and I said, oh, tell me I can be in that meeting. And he goes, really? And I said, are you kidding me? Really? Yes, I want to be in that meeting. And he goes, you know Troy Dunn? I said, I listened to Troy Dunn from way back. I'm a fan from way, way back. So tell us a little bit about way back for you. Because I know that...
I don't think I'm old enough for you to have two ways.
Oh,
Way back, I accept. Way back feels
my
like
my apologies. Tell us about
Way
back.
you aren't very much younger than me, actually.
I mean, not much.
I'm 47. What are you?
Dude, you're 47. Nice. If you're 47, I'm 29.
See, I knew this beard was going to backfire. I knew it. I don't think I said I am 47. I've been 47.
Oh, I
How
misunderstood.
many times have you been 47?
Man.
So I'm 39.
Is the purpose of the podcast to bring down my self-worth because it's working?
The way that we have the tallest building is by tearing everybody else's down. Yeah.
Not the intent at all. So my apologies.
Bob Snyder, what is this? What is happening right now?
This
I'm
is how
just
we
kidding. I
this is
love
how
you
we
both.
keep it real.
Hey,
So-
last podcast, I was in my 20s.
Nah,
For real.
he said that
Rosies.
over and over and over.
You
and
just
over
have to. I know
again.
it's a reference you're not going to understand until you go back and listen to it, but you
Yeah,
will
all right.
once you do.
Well, I'm just grateful to be here and out of the house.
Nice.
It's the first time in months I've put on pants, so I'm happy to be here.
We are very
You did
grateful that
not
you
need
put
to.
on pants. You
No,
you
you
did
did not
need.
need to.
Don't listen to him. So tell us about way back. Tell us about kind of how
What do
you
you wanna
got
know?
started. So
tell you anything.
my first getting to know you way back, just one was through your motivational speaking.
Okay.
So talk to us a little bit about how that started, how you got into motivational speaking way back.
Thank you for the one way.
You're welcome.
You know, I didn't get into it. Like, I wasn't like, I wonder how I could do this. It was always, I know the word accident is disrespectful to say something happened on an accident, right? Because there's lots of people involved in your life who worked hard to make things happen. I'm a big religious guy, so I believe God blesses you with certain things. I think we each have gifts and talents that we either choose to dig out and polish off and use, or we just let them sit inside us and rust, but we have them.
Amen to that.
And so the motivational speaking, as you call it, were really just me speaking at church events mostly. And I found if you have a gray beard, you can reflect on your life.
And if you touch it thoughtfully,
you can touch it. Yeah.
and
I
just
touch
kinda,
it so often I don't even know when I'm doing it anymore. I really am close to ripping it out of my face.
It adds like 10 wisdom points when you've got it.
There you go.
And does wisdom points mean years? Is that what you're saying?
No,
I'm good with that.
it just means you're 10 points more
I
wisdom.
can't even tell you how much I regret the beard today. So
I'm
what I
loving it.
found myself doing in my life, and maybe we all do this, I don't know, because I've only lived my life. I find myself trying to put out into the world things that I wanted at some point in my life, right? I mean, like if you compliment somebody, you probably are saying something that you would love somebody to tell you, right? Or you appreciate it when somebody does. Somebody says, your haircut looks nice. You're like, I feel good when people say that. I'm going to make sure to compliment somebody's
Right.
haircut.
Right.
So as a teenager trying to find my way through life, I wanted somebody to explain things to me in a way that made sense to me, not an adult trying to get me to come up to the adult level and connect where I couldn't. And I was a dumb jock. So taking things and putting them into the perspective of football. No, I don't mean that
I bet you were
derogatory.
like a smart-ish one.
But I love the support.
You bet, man.
You're bringing me
I'm
back
here
up.
for you.
It's coming.
That's
coming back.
that's a compliment that Matt would like to hear. Matt,
Yes.
you're not a dumb jock
I'm
either.
smart-ish.
You're smart-ish.
Yes.
You are super smart-ish.
Thank you.
And so I think I was just putting out what I wanted as a kid. And, even today, I'm not trying to pull this thing full circle, but I find anytime I sit down and talk to somebody as an old entrepreneur, when I meet a young entrepreneur, I take myself back to being that young startup entrepreneur, and I think, what was it that would have made my life better? Or what do I wish somebody would have told me so I didn't have to learn every single thing the hard way? Because I do believe that there's a list of lessons that we have to learn in our life. That's just a list that we're all going to figure out, right? Some of us learn those things early. Some of us learn them late. Some of us die having never learned them. But it's a list. It's
Right.
a big list, whether it's about relationships, physical health, emotional health, money management,
Oh, yeah.
all those things. They're just lists that we all have to do. And I think that list, it's like swipe left, swipe right. I don't know what that means. It's a dating thing, isn't it?
You don't know what that
Don't know
means.
what that means?
You
Isn't
shouldn't
it
make a
something-
reference you don't understand.
Okay, forget
I
the
don't-
swipe reference. I
don't
think it's
know
like
what it means either.
you look like you're lying.
There's a bunch of married guys sitting around a table.
I don't.
Yeah, let me tell
I
you.
thought it meant you learn one way or you learn the other, whatever it is. I'd like everybody to delete the part about swipe left and swipe right, since I obviously don't know what I'm saying. But every life lesson, you have to check a box next to that lesson and say, I've learned that the hard way, or on the other side, I've learned that the easy way.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the way you accelerate into success is to see how many of these lessons can I learn the easy way and save the time of learning everything the hard way, because the hard way takes time
How do you learn them the easy way?
from other people.
Yeah.
And so I'm a big fanatic about mentors, right?
Uh-huh.
Whether that person knows that you're a mentor or not, they're a mentor
Right.
from afar. I don't know there must be a word for that, but I don't know what it is, right? Voluntary and involuntary mentors. That sounds more like taking people prisoner, but I don't know that. But I'm just saying, I love to learn from other people's mistakes, because the ones I learned the hard way hurt.
Yeah.
And I thought, not only do I hope to never do that again, I hope my kids never do that again, or never have to do it.
Right.
Right?
So, so I'm going to come back to that thought right there at the end, but it's clear to me why it is that you fit so well with the Renatus community. Just hearing you say that, because I feel like Renatus is so focused on empowering people to work smarter, not harder. Right? Help learn from people that have gone there before, have learned the hard way, and can now teach you how to avoid the hard way moving forward. So it just makes sense to me why you connect so well with our group.
Well, that's kind of you to say. I want to believe that most of us are trying to live that way, right? We don't all want to learn everything the hard way.
True.
I mean, there are some people who have to because they just never trust another soul within their own. And so
Right.
they have to keep taking the punches in the face. And then you just hope, man, I hope they stay standing long enough to see the benefits of this.
Yeah.
But there are
Yeah.
some who can't. You just take so many punches. I mean, I certainly had numerous entrepreneurial failures in my life, and they all took a little bit out of me. You know, they left with their own pound of flesh. And you got to sit there and heal a while before you take a deep breath and charge back into that fight again.
Right.
But there are some who never charge back in, and they miss all the blessings that come from ultimate success, whatever that is. So if you don't have to take as many punches because somebody else walks up to you and goes, hey, I've already fought this guy. He's got a mean left hook.
Yeah.
And you're like, all right, fine. I'm going to keep that block up there.
Right.
Now you survive the fight with less beating, and you've got more energy to go out and dance after the fight, right? So
Yeah.
if that's Renatus's purpose, which it sounds like it is,
Oh, it is.
that's definitely how I love to live my life. And I'm not out there trying to save the world by teaching people. I'm still learning as well. I have many involuntary mentors in my life, right? You guys are in that group. Bob Snyder is definitely in that group. People who are further along in certain chapters of their life than I am.
Yeah.
You know, I've got 8 children, a couple still at home, a bunch of them out. So in the parenting world, I've kind of been there, done that on most chapters. But I don't have children. I don't have grandchildren who are, you know, at certain ages. So I'm still looking to people above me for direction.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that's all it is. I really do feel like we're just all trying to pull each other through the storm.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. I think you could actually substitute involuntary mentor with example.
There you go. That sounds
Right.
way friendlier than involuntary
Right.
mentor. It's like, I don't want to be your mentor.
Involuntary mentor sounds like I said no twice.
How many? No means no,
No
Troy.
means
Stop coming over.
So let me ask you a question, because one thing that you said is that you said that you like to be able to share, you know, some of your life experience, some of the hard things that you've gone through to help other people avoid them. And then you said specifically, like my kids, that you don't want to see your kids going through these hard things. So how do we as parents, because each one of us know that it's the hard things we've gone through that bring us to where we are right now.
That's true.
And so every single parent also says, oh, you know what? If I can take any hardship away from my kids, I want to.
Oh, yeah.
But I think that just provides for them a different hardship, right? So how do you as a parent, how do you decide where you pull back and let your kids go forward and experience their own hardship versus where you go, oh, no, hang on. Let me show you. That guy's Goliath right there. The good news is little stones take Goliath down pretty easy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
When do you pull forward? When do you go back?
That's actually not a difficult question for me, because I've had to stare into that now that I do have children who are adults and married and have their own kids. And so that one's easy for me. And the answer for me is it depends on the level of damage that they will sustain to learn this lesson. Because there are things, I mean, everybody who has children knows this. There are certain things that you can tell your kids 100 times, they're going to learn it the hard way. They have to, just like you did. They're going to have to come back with beaten and bruised and go, oh my gosh, I got too serious with a boyfriend or a girlfriend way too young, or I said I love you way too soon, or whatever it is. I took on more debt than I should have. My credits, there's just going to be things that you're going to warn them, but they're going to do it. For me, my line where I go, do I let them learn this the hard way, or do I intervene with some wisdom and warning, is the level of damage they will sustain. Because there are some choices that you never come back from.
Oh, yeah.
And I am not capable of watching my children. In fact, I'll tell you an actual example. This is recent. Because we have, I don't know when people watch this could be after everybody's back to normal, but currently, as we record this today, the Dunn family is still quarantined. Coming out of the shell a little bit, we're mostly quarantined. So our only opportunity to spend time outside the house is to go somewhere as a family where there's nobody else. So we end up in parks and fields and stuff. My 7-year-old boy, Trevin, there was a beautiful grassy hill, and he said, I'll race you to the bottom. I'm like, I'm not running down a hill. He said, come on. I said, Trevin, we will bite it and fall. And anyway, He said, fine, I'm doing it. I'm like, okay. Sure enough, he was 5 steps down that hill before the momentum took him too fast for his feet, and he was rolling down the hill. He didn't come back crying and break his arm, but he was scratched up a little bit, and he was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe how fast I was falling. I didn't have to fall down that hill to know that. I've fallen down those hills already, right? So I let it happen. But before that, we had been up skiing, and there was a spot that he wanted to go ski over the top to see what it was. And I already knew because we'd seen it coming up in the lift. It was a cliff. And he said, I just want to take a look. I said, Trevin, the snow sometimes builds up over the edge of the cliff, and it looks like it's there, but it's not. And you step on it, and it collapses, and you will die. There was no chance in Hades I was letting him go to the edge of that cliff, right? So those 2 moments were both him trying out his limits, and there was one where I knew he would survive and one I knew he wouldn't. And so as a parent, that's where I drew the line.
Okay.
Yeah, I can.
That's a little harder, I guess, if it becomes issues of emotion, finance.
Right.
Well, yeah. How do you keep him away from drugs or some of those really serious, decisions? Like, it's easy. I know for my own self, my parents very much were stay away from that. Right. But it didn't stop me. How did you keep your kids away?
Yeah. So you're making one assumption there, which is that none of my children have dealt with drugs.
Hey, I went out on a cornice. Did I fall off the cliff?
Which you would be incorrect.
Okay.
So I'll say that without outing anybody.
Fair enough. We can talk about me.
I'm just saying, we have had that issue pass through our family, not to the degree that a lot of people do, but I mean, it's
okay. So in hindsight,
made its appearance. I wouldn't change anything. I do, the way I've been taught in my own faith and things, I do believe in the idea that you teach your children correct principles and allow them to govern themselves. Mm-hmm. That second half is the hard part of parenting. Ugh. The first half is the easiest thing in the world. Who doesn't want to teach their kids good things, right? And sometimes, often, unfortunately, we teach our children good things that are totally hypocritical because they're the things we haven't lived by or we don't, right? Some of the unhealthiest people in the world are telling their kids to stop eating junk food. They're like, it's a hard message to sell, brother. I know there's been times where Jennifer and I have told the kids to go up and clean their rooms and you could barely see the floor in our bedroom. Hypocrisy is one of those things that we're always trying to keep in check.
Oh yeah.
So I think that there's a fine line between forcing kids to do what's right and teaching them why they do it right. And then they get the opportunity to learn it the easy way or learn it the hard way.
So give us that quote one more time.
Well, who am I quoting? It's
the teaching them correct principles.
I believe that you teach children correct principles and allow them to govern themselves.
Yeah.
Nice.
I like that.
I said that on Dr. Phil. He asked me to come to the show because he was having a guest on the show, a family who was of the same faith as me. And he said, I've known you a long time. I've never known you to parent like that. I'm like what? He's like, well, he forces them. And if they don't do exactly what he says, he has a severe punishment. And they never have an option to make choices in their life. And I thought, So I actually had to go out and talk about that because a choice is just a muscle. The ability to make decisions is a muscle. And if you don't work that muscle, then you're going to get to a point in life where you need to make a decision and you have no idea. You don't have the strength to do it.
Oh, yeah.
And so letting them work that muscle as children makes them better adults.
Oh, yeah. And that is so true. People's ability to self-regulate, it's a muscle that they have to work, and you have to allow them to go out there and actually exercise it in different formats. With me, my kids are, I thought I was doing pretty good. I got 6 kids, and I was like, that's a lot of kids. Now you've got 8, so thank you for 1-upping me or 2-upping me there. Yeah. But I know this was a competition from a long time ago. But
well, that just got weird.
You were in an involuntary competition.
So I'm at the point right now where I'm watching. I've got teenagers, I've got tweens, I've got young kids, and I'm watching. I'm having to let go a little more and a little more with my kids making more and more decisions on their own. Mm-hmm. And it just doesn't get easier, does it? To watch your kids. I mean,
not if you love them. If you love them, it never gets easier to watch them hurt themselves. It never gets easier, especially when you could stop it.
Yeah.
But the benefits of you stopping it oftentimes don't outweigh the benefits of letting them experience it.
Oh yeah.
That's just so hard to do, right? Because I have had a lot of children, as you have, and I've sat there in the front row of every child being born. It breaks my heart to know that we're just minutes away from my wife, you know, at different time, going into labor and delivering a child. Not now. Back then, way back then.
Just one way.
Just one way.
And for sure, I feel incompetent as a male sitting in the delivery room as my wife prepares to bring another human into the world, and all I can do is hand her ice chips.
Right.
And it hurts me to know what's about to happen to her, the moment she's about to go through. But there's nothing I can do. I mean, there's terrible things I could do to make it never happen. That's not it, right? There's something she just has to go through. And I just have to sit there and watch it happen, and it hurts. Not like it hurts her, but it hurts to watch her go through it. And all I can do is focus on what's going to happen afterwards, which is one, there's going to be a beautiful baby in our family, and two, I'm going to need to surround Jennifer with a lot of love and appreciation for what she just did.
Yeah.
And the fact that she's going to hurt for a while, physically, psychologically, whatever, all of that. And I think that when you're watching your children get ready to enter into something, you're like, this is not going to work out well. As my son went running down that grassy hill, I said to Jennifer, we may need a bag of ice in a couple of minutes. This is going to hurt. So I just think that's the best thing you can do for parents sometimes is not to keep them from an experience, but to be prepared to support them afterwards.
Oh, I love that. And I know there is no physical pain that I've experienced that is the same as the pain you experience as a parent watching your kids go through something hard.
And I know we all have our stories, and you know mine. But I will tell you, and I'm not trying to one-up everybody, oh, my story is tougher. We've all had challenges in our life. That's the whole point of this life, right, is to go through adversity, get stronger, move forward. But I will tell you, sitting there on the edge of my little girl's bed when she was 7 years old, and she was going through chemotherapy for her cancer, and trying to stroke her head so she'd fall asleep, and noticing that handfuls of her hair were showing up in my hands as I ran my hand through her hair. So I was trying to not let her see that by bringing my arm around and shaking the hair onto the ground. And she said, it's okay, Daddy. I know my hair is falling out. And this is a little girl who loved her hair, you know, always had barrettes in it and, you know, ribbons, and she was a girly girl. And she said, am I going to be bald forever? I said, baby girl, you are not going to be bald forever. Not even a little bit. It's just a minute right now because of the medicine you're taking. And then she said, well, am I going to die? Now that is, I'm not even going to tell you that conversation just because I don't want to sit here on your podcast and get emotional. But I would just say there was no doubt in my mind in that moment, as parents always say, you know, I'd rather be me than them. Right. As I sat there on the edge of that bed, I would have given anything to trade places and lay down in the bed and be the one whose hair was falling out and be the one who's facing mortality and let her just sit next to me. But I couldn't. And so I just had to be ready to catch her on the other side, whatever that meant, you know. So parenting is hard. Parenting is incredible. And it pays amazing dividends. But once you get those dividends, like now we've got adult children who are starting to come home and tell us how grateful they are for all the things they took for granted, and they're calling mom looking for favorite recipes, and they're starting to have their own children, and they're expressing how hard it is, and they never appreciated us, right? The dividends are amazing, and they're worth it. But they came at a high price.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, parenting, you pay a lot for that, but it's like any great experience. You put a lot into it, but once you get the reward, even though it was hard, it was worth it. And I think that's true whether you're building a family or a business or a community.
Right. Oh, I love it. So let me segue just a little bit on you, because you've written a number of books now. And one of the books that you wrote is Young Bucks, How to Raise a Future Millionaire. And then, do you remember what the tagline is right underneath that?
How to Raise a Future Millionaire? There's another tagline?
Yeah, there's one more line underneath it. It says, self-made millionaire and father of...
Oh, I hated that line.
7.
Did it say 7?
It says 7.
So he's just trying to date my book?
Well,
It's an old book.
Well, That's not what I meant. I meant I was going to ask you. Does Trevin? He's the youngest, right?
Yes.
Does he feel a little left out that you're referenced as a father of 7 in this book?
Well, so those tapes that you talk about that you used to listen to, those were made over several years. So in any one of those recordings, you can hear me talk about my 4 kids, my 5 kids, my 6 kids, right, my 7. So I think he's gotten used to that space. But we have made absolutely sure that he knows he's the favorite because we call him our bonus baby. So even when he's adopted that, rightfully
Buy 7,
so.
get 1 free.
There's no free, baby. Let me tell you something. The day that pregnancy test came back, I thought that was the end of my mortality. But we won't go into that.
So wait, what's the age difference between 7 and 8 then?
100 years.
Sounds like 2 ways are in your back over there. Okay.
No, my 7-year-old right now, she is about 16. I mean, my 7-year-old. My oldest, sorry. You flustered me with all these questions.
Where were you on the night of the 13th?
I know. So right now I have a 7-year-old and a 16-year-old.
Gotcha.
So
Gotcha.
that's the difference. But the bigger difference is my 7-year-old is our baby, and my oldest is about to turn 30. So 30 down to 7 is a pretty wide gap.
Mm-hmm.
You know what? I am 8 of 9, and
Your number is 8?
yeah, I'm number 8. I'm 8 of 9. I have 8 other siblings, and
by the time they get to that number, I'm surprised you even got a real name.
well,
Because we
they
thought
wrote
with our youngest, we're
run
like, we
out.
should just name him 8. Just
Number 8.
save the time.
they wrote it down on the birth certificate, and then called me 8 until I was about 15 years old. Then I realized that my name was not 8. No, I'm just kidding. That's just a joke. Sorry if my mother watches this. So, I'm 8 of 9. And having a big family is incredible. It's pretty awesome because you've always got somebody there that you can talk to.
So I never thought we would. We didn't plan on it. When I met Jennifer, Jennifer is a very athletic girl we met in high school. She was the softball fast pitch pitcher, rocket arm. If you go back to Enid, Oklahoma today, her name is still painted on the dugout of the girls' soccer field because she was such a legend and set so many records. She's amazing. So being that she wasn't a girly girl, didn't like to babysit other people's kids, didn't play with dolls, I'm thinking we may have 1 or 2 children. And then she just fell in love with those first couple of babies and decided that motherhood was the career that she wanted. And she redirected herself into that. I didn't push her into it. There was no dominant plan. We both were chasing our dreams as young kids. And she decided motherhood was hers.
Yeah.
So to support her career, I had to make sure that I had something that would sustain us financially. So that's when the entrepreneurial bug started working overtime. It was like, okay, she wants to be at home and raise a family. So
what was that first entrepreneurial experience that you went after? Because you talk about that you were young, you were married, and you were young. So I'm assuming early 20s, maybe.
Yep, very early.
Yeah.
And so what was
She was 19 at the altar.
nice?
Yeah.
Mine was 18. I beat you by 1. You're welcome.
This sounds a very sexist.
Oh, it wasn't sexist. It was
It's
a
not sexist,
competition.
it's just a competition to Jay.
Sorry.
Now I'm involuntarily being pulled into this conversation for all of you at home.
We're making an example of you. So,
Yes,
sorry.
we were very young.
What was your first entrepreneurial adventure?
So not to keep bringing it back to the book Young Bucks, but
Mm-hmm.
if you read that, which by the way, there's nothing in it for me. That book has been published for a long time and there's no royalties left. So it's just, if you find a copy, grab it because I don't even think it's available. I was an entrepreneur because I was raised by an entrepreneur. My father was not I don't use the word, I don't want to hurt his feelings. I'm not saying he wasn't a successful entrepreneur. He wasn't monetarily successful, but he taught us a lot about business and self-reliance.
There you go.
He always said, you got to teach kids, they have to learn to earn. And so there was no allowance allowed in our family. That was a big no-no. And truthfully, I've carried that into my family and my children have carried it in. Even though some people are like, how can you not give your kids an allowance? How can you not allow them to learn how to manage money? Well, because you manage other people's money differently than you manage your own, right? When you've had to work for $5, that's way different than getting it in a birthday card.
Yep.
So we always were taught to have small little businesses growing up. So my brother and I would paint addresses on curbs, right? I was the talker, so I would go sell it, and then my brother came in behind me who didn't like to talk to people, and he'd do the labor part of spraying the number on, So we did that and all that. But to go back to your original question, when Jennifer and I got married, the first thing we had was a scooter rental business on the beach in Fort Myers, Florida. That was our first. And we bought it from a guy who was 73 and had been busted for using his business as a front to sell drugs. So it was a scooter rental business. It didn't really rent scooters. It just had scooters, but really the business was happening behind the building.
He's cooking
And
the
he
books.
He was cooking something.
Yeah.
And so he had been prosecuted and was going to prison and been given 7 days to clean up his affairs. And so one of them was to get rid of his scooter business. So we bought it for virtually nothing.
Gotcha.
But it was virtually nothing.
Yeah.
So we had to build that up.
clientele, huh?
But at the same time, hang on. So I remember this. You've actually told me a little bit about this business. You ended up expanding that, and then you grew it to the point where what was you received an accolade, like a 30 under 30 or something.
Yeah, Entrepreneur Magazine featured us in a cover story they do every year called the 40 Under 40. And I don't even know if that magazine's still around anymore, but they did an annual issue called 40 Under 40, and we were the youngest ones that year.
What's a
Our scooter
magazine?
business. It's a thing that's made out of thin shavings of a dead tree and then glued together.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, like
Appreciate
a
your
newspaper?
What's a newspaper?
Nice. This is great conversation right here. Great radio. So
I'm just the guest. I didn't script. I don't.
Hey.
I go where they take
it's
me.
okay.
I'm just the
I've
left
been-
turn. That's why I'm here.
I've been told so many times in my life that I have the perfect face for radio. So
That is not
I'm in the
true.
right place. This
You
is
know how to
okay.
rock a real beard.
So tell me a little bit how you built up that business and what lessons did you learn and start carrying forward from that point? Because I mean, if you took this little, dilapidated scooter business and then turned it into something that was noteworthy enough to qualify for the 40 under 40 for Entrepreneur Magazine, you did something significant.
Yeah, but I don't know if we qualify. First of all, there's no way we'd qualify now, right? There weren't a lot of young entrepreneurs out in the world back in the late 80s, early 90s. I mean, that was, today you're born, with investors. It seems like everybody's got a .com something. But then it wasn't. So I really think we got the accolade mostly just because we were, 20 years old.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, we did, we're both college dropouts. Jennifer dropped out of school when she got pregnant. I dropped out after one semester. I went on a football scholarship. And
Why did you drop out?
well, I don't want to brag because it was terrible. I mean, all of my children are college graduates now because of my obsession with saying to them, you have to. And here's why I dropped out. Because I never understood that you could both be a student and an entrepreneur at the same time.
Okay.
I felt like there was a crossroads. And I sat in those classrooms taking classes from people who never had done what they were teaching. They were just teaching it.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm a big believer in shooting messengers, right? And because too many people believe everything.
Shooting messengers. Huh?
Yes.
Sounds like your next book.
People will often say, don't shoot the messenger. I tell people that's bull crap. At least cock your gun and point it at them and make them qualify themselves. Because too often we are listening to voices who are unqualified and yet they have such influence in our lives, in our personal relationships, right? People often get in an argument. What do? They run to their best friend. Your best friend is not a therapist. Your best friend is not a relationship expert. Your best friend is going to tell you what you want to hear because they love you and they want you to feel better. And they're going to send you back to your partner feeling bitter and I'm a big believer in shooting mess. So anyway, college, I was taking a class called Media in America by Dr. Zaharopoulos. Bless your heart if you're out there, Dr. Zaharopoulos. But the guy who had never done anything substantial in the media at all, but had taken the course and read the books and was teaching it to us. And I want to learn from people who have been there and done that.
Right.
I just feel, and that didn't feel like traditional college to me.
Yeah.
So at the end of the semester and Christmas break, I was looking for a way to wiggle out of it without upsetting my parents who couldn't afford to send us to college. So I was only in college because of my football scholarship. And then my roommate was killed in an accident over Christmas break. And I used that as my excuse to bail. It's not real. I was sad, but I was trying to figure out a way out anyway.
Yeah.
Now I've of course told my children, you can be a dorm room entrepreneur. You can absolutely major in reality and minor in your dreams at the same time. I tell that to entrepreneurs who are looking to start into a business. I'm like, you don't have to make the leap, right? Stay in your safe place for as long as you need to be responsible for your family. Mm-hmm. But feed your soul. Your soul wants to build something. Your soul wants to do something more substantial. So do that over here. Continue to maintain some reality. And then as soon as this thing is big enough, then you can make it your new reality.
That is exactly what I tell people when it comes to marketing full-time in Renatus. Like, you keep your full-time job until you've got a booming business.
So, and my father has passed away, so I feel terrible when I use these examples, but I know he would want me to. So my dad, I went to a different school every year of my life, from kindergarten up to high school. And then in high school, I stayed in the same school for 3 years because that's where my dad played football in high school, and he wanted me to play at his old alma mater. So we held still long enough for me to get through high school. And by the way, we became state champs, just saying.
Just saying.
What position did you play?
I was fullback.
Nice.
Yeah. Anyway, but my dad moved us every year. He was a frustrated school teacher. He had been a football coach at the college level and the high school level, but felt like education was becoming more babysitting, and he was always chasing shiny objects. And I think he didn't have an example, first of all. He didn't have any mentors. His family before him, nobody had accomplished anything. He was the first one to go to college and get a degree, right? So he didn't have any role models in which he could learn easy lessons. He did have to go down that list and learn them all hard. So he spent his life in a difficult place. And one of the things that I was able to learn easy that he had to learn hard was you cannot, as an entrepreneur, live your life as a pinball. You can't just run from shiny object to shiny object to shiny object, because you'll never stand long enough in any one place to grow anything. And what happens is there are people who, I call it the entrepreneurial curse, right? So let's pretend that this is my gift, my entrepreneurial gift. And not everybody has these. People who have them think everybody sees the world that way. That's not true. People see it differently. And here's the example I like to share with people, because it'll help you and instantly know whether or not you have this gift. You ready? This is the test. The normal person goes to Disneyland, Disney World, pick your favorite theme park. You sit in that line waiting to pay for parking, and you go in your park, you get on the tram and you head into the park. You can't wait to get in there and play. The person with this pulls up to parking and goes, $15 to park? How many cars do you think come through this place every day?
Every time.
I mean,
1,200 cars.
Our family could. Yes, and you start to do that, and you're like, oh my gosh! Imagine. I mean, we could live off of one day.
Probably this.
Yes, right. Yeah. So when you see the world that way, you have a gift that you can see opportunity where other people don't. When Jennifer and I ran our scooter business, we made as much money with going across the street where somebody had torn down an old house and left it empty. We leased that lot and charged people to park there to go to the beach because it sat right next to the beach. We made more money on that dirt lot than we made renting scooters. And to everybody else, that was just a dirt lot. But to Jennifer and I, were like, man, there's no parking around here. I bet you we could put 50, 60 cars in there. And they leave twice, 3 times a day. So 150, 200 cars a day, right? So that's the gift. But that same gift becomes a curse if you don't ever take this off. Once you see a shiny object, you're like, that is for me. That's my opportunity. You have to develop, which my father didn't have, and he taught us. You have to develop the self-discipline to pull those off and go, all right, I'm committing to this opportunity for a period of time. And even though I know shiny objects are going to drift past me, I'm not going to let another one take my attention off of the ball. And the people who figure that out prosper. And the ones who don't spend their life as a pinball.
You know, I love that. I love that you're using your glasses as the example of how to create a frame that people are seeing the world through. And every time you take them off, it's such an easy lesson to say, some people see it this way and other people don't even realize that glasses exist, and then being able to set the boundaries on your business ideas where you're saying, okay, I'm going to give this idea, this attention, effort, energy, this time, and I will not deviate but at the end of this time, I may want to turn around and reassess what's going on.
Yeah.
I love that. I have seen so many people that get really, really excited about being entrepreneurs, get out there, they start doing something, and then the next thing comes along and they move on.
Sure.
They've got that shiny object syndrome to the worst degree that you can imagine.
They're pinballs.
Yeah.
Totally.
They just bounce from opportunity to opportunity. And what happens in that process is your number one fan club leaves you. Because whether that's your spouse or your children or your parents or your best friend, everyone who was rooting you on that first time you told them, you know what? I'm starting a business. And they're like, you got this, bro. You can do this. 17 pinballs later, you're like, I came across this thing, and they're like, oh my gosh.
Again.
Here we go again.
Yeah. Right.
And it isn't because there aren't any great opportunities in the world. There are. We know that.
Right.
It's because they believe that you're about to just bounce off of another opportunity to another one. And they're just waiting, and they're like, oh. It's kind of one of those things you're like, oh, we'll be here to pick up the pieces when he loses his car because he didn't do this, and he's right, and his wife's going to get upset. And I will tell you, in those early days, it wasn't like Jennifer and I got married, started a business, and then just life was this. We still had a lot of that, right? Trying to get through chapters. And I will never forget one thing Jennifer said to me, and she said, she grabbed me, and Jennifer's the opposite of me. She's very practical, opposite of me in almost every way. I mean, other than we both really love sports, that's it. That's our only common denominator.
So she's young.
Oh my gosh. Did I ever tell you I first met Jay Stark when I called Rent-A-Friend and I said, would you send one over? And he showed up. And if you're like 1 day late, he starts with this whole attitude on payments. Anyway, yes, she is much younger than me. We met in high school. I was her math teacher. No, that's not true. Not true. Anyway, she came to me one day very serious and kind of turned my chin towards her and made me make direct eye contact. And it was during a time I was trying to start something and floundering with it. And she said, listen, I don't care if we're ever rich. I just want us, we don't need a big house. We don't need a fancy car. I would just be just as happy if you went and got a job, at the convenience store. I just want us to be stable. Well, as an entrepreneur, there's a part of you that wants to kick back on that and be like, you know what? I'm trying to reach for the stars and you're dragging me down. Why aren't you, I need motivation. But there's this other part of entrepreneurs that sometimes we don't like to take ownership of, which is we need somebody to keep our feet nailed to the floor, to make sure that we're managing reality while we chase our dreams versus abandoning it, right? Which is where all the destruction happens.
Right.
And it's possible somebody watching this is in that place right now where they're like, yeah, that's me. I have abandoned all sense of reality and I'm throwing it all to the wall. And, I hate when people say to me, it's go big or go home. I'm like, come on. You're already home. You can make things better, but don't lose everything to chase something. You don't have to. That's just a movie. That's not real. Reality is you can manage your reality and keep your priorities in line while you try and build something fun and interesting. You don't give up your marriage for it. You don't give up your children, your relationship. One of the things that makes me crazy that entrepreneurs will say when they've overinvested in themselves, and maybe that's offensive to some people, you can never overinvest in yourself. Oh, sure you can. Of course you can. You got other relationships to invest in.
You can overdo anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when you find somebody, it doesn't even matter if they're an entrepreneur. They could just be a workaholic, which I worry that I am sometimes. So I'm always trying to force myself back into personal spaces with my family. Is people will say, I'm doing this for you. And you're like, come on, who are you kidding? You're doing this because you have a gift. You have a drive. You have a hunger. It needs to be fed. You're an entrepreneur from birth. We get it. I got it. I understand that.
Yep.
But you can't cause everybody else to pay the price that you are supposed to be paying as an entrepreneur. Your job as an entrepreneur is not to just go chase it. It's to bring people with you. Because otherwise you get there and you're like, I caught it. And
you look around.
Nobody's there.
This isn't as fun being by myself as it would have been had everybody been there.
That accountability right there is huge. I love that you said, somebody has to have your feet nailed to the floor. It makes me think of a kite, right? each one of us wants to go higher and higher and higher and higher. And we look down and we go, what is this holding me to the ground? Why is it that I have to have this tether? And in reality, without it, we get lost.
In reality, that's not a tether, it's a lifeline.
Yeah.
Right.
That is what's keeping you afloat.
Yeah.
Is that person who you think isn't supportive and isn't, is pessimistic, or all the things we shout when we're angry at a person who doesn't carry the same pair of glasses. And, we live in an alternative universe sometimes as entrepreneurs, right? We're always dreaming everything is possible. And we need somebody who has a set of reality glasses on. It's like, okay, well, I'm glad you're trying to build an empire. In the meantime, we got to pay the phone bill.
Yeah.
Somebody has to keep that in check, and it's a
yeah.
hard balance. The couples who figure that out are the ones who are phenomenally successful in their marriage, in their home, which then spills into their business. You can be a tremendous success in business and be a massive failure at home.
Oh.
And I have no time for those folks because I feel like I could have easily been that person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right? Had I fallen in with the wrong group of people who only encouraged success at all costs, and there are people out there who will tell you that success at all costs. Cut off the people who are dragging you down. Cut them loose.
I know them, and I've watched. And it's one of the lessons that I've learned from somebody else from a young age, because I was able to watch so many entrepreneurs from a distance, or in some cases pretty close. Like I went on business trips with my dad. I met with these people. I got to see how their lives worked.
Well, and that's, not to sound like I'm trying to be an infomercial, because I'm not, but I want to be transparent. That is what attracted me to Bob Snyder and Renatus.
Yeah.
It was a culture, a community of people who had such strong values and such high moral principles that I've heard people claim they have, but here I've been able to come in behind the scenes and really spend time, away from the cameras and the lights and know people on a real level.
Yeah.
And I've traveled now to all the regionals, and I've met all the leaders, and I've seen them at dinner, and I've seen them with their spouses, and I've gone to concerts with them, and I know them. And they're exactly as I was hoping they would be, right? People who, yes, they want to help everybody become the best version of themselves, and yes, they want to help people build a big business, but never at the cost of family. That single principle is for me is the most attractive thing about Renatus, is its commitment to values.
I agree.
So I know that when you first started talking with Bob and started your relationship with Renatus, the intent was to bring you to the national conference and have you come and
I did a keynote
and do a keynote at the national conference. And I know that we all like to say that at the national conference, that's where the business goes from your head to your heart. And I would love to hear your perspective on because you just said, Renatus is what I hoped it was. And that moment when you went to the national conference and you felt the energy in the room and felt all these people from across the nation coming together, what was that experience like for you?
Well, this is exactly what I told Bob. First of all, I came off the stage in a little bit of an emotional state, and I tend to get emotional, but I never want to. I'm very uncomfortable in that place. It throws me off. I like to get off then and then just go find a place to hide, sometimes into my own rental car or whatever, and just sit for a second and go, oh, wow, how embarrassing. What's wrong with me? As I came...
we had to get on after you. If I remember Jay looking over at Jay like, oh, geez, we're over here just wet.
Well,
our eyes are wet, yeah.
So I got off that stage, and I was really immediately looking for the way out of the room because I needed to go compose myself. And I couldn't get over to the edge of the room because so many people came out of their rows in their seats and just grabbed me and hugged me and were emotional as well and said some very kind, beautiful things to me. And it made it worse. I was like, you gotta stop. You gotta stop. And I finally wiggled my way to the back where Bob grabbed me and gave me a man hug that was incredibly strong, and I felt power pulsing. And he said, how was that? I said, I've only ever felt that feeling at church. it felt so pure and so genuine. And by the way, it isn't like I'm like, oh, this was my first time to do a keynote. I've never been in front of a large audience, right? I've been blessed to have keynoted around the world, and I've got some great travel stories, and I've been to a lot of places all because of speaking. And I've had fun experiences, right? I've had some crazy audiences and some great things, and I've enjoyed it. I'm not putting any of them down. I've never felt what I feel when I'm in a room with a Renatus group and they're all just in the moment. Like it is a religious experience. I know it sounds cheesy, and there might be a better word for it, but it is. And to be truthful with you, once it was done and I was driving home and coming down off of it, it was kind of depressing. Like, because it was just a one and done. I was just asked to come speak.
Yeah. Right.
And it was that moment, not where I made some conscious decision where like I have a plan, but I was like, I want to spend more time with these people. Even if it's just personal, right? Bob and his wife and my wife and I have been to concerts together now. And I just like, these feel like my people, or I'm theirs. I don't know, but it feels good. It feels right, you know? So I can't believe fast forward 3 years and I'm this involved. And I mean, it's awesome.
So let's talk about your continued involvement with Renatus, because on behalf of myself, everybody around the nation, we love having you here. Absolutely.
Thank you.
And you coming out on the founders webinars and sharing some of the experiences that are created through your foundation, and then always sharing so authentically. You know, that authenticity, that genuine concern, love, care. That's what will continue to bring people back to you over and over.
Gets me every time.
Every time.
That's why I was saying, when I was saying we came on after you, I meant with this most recent nationals, but it was
yeah.
Yeah.
So let me ask you about profits.
Okay.
And about what you have invested into profits and what you want to see come from profits.
Well, let me step back from profits for a minute. Not from it, but from my part of it, to just say that the profits course and the 9 instructors that are in there is everything I was trying to find as a 20-year-old when I ended up in Entrepreneur Magazine. Everything I learned the hard way, I could have learned the easy way had I had the profits course. So that's why I said to you earlier at the top, I find myself just kind of spewing stuff out in my life that I wish somebody had spewed at me, or the people did, right? I'm not trying to be the wise guy on the hill. I'm still a student in the classroom, but I've been in the classroom long enough that there's certain things I've already read this chapter, right?
Yeah.
So if you're reading it for the first time, I can just tell you how it ends right now. Skip to this page because it's big. So I just find myself still as a student,
right,
doing those things. The profits course is, what I love about it is it's for any business. That's what I love about it, right? Not take away anything from real estate. Real estate is one very amazing industry that people are making amazing business and building big businesses in, right? Making success in. We all need a little real estate in our life just to have a home. Right. So it makes sense. But the profits course is for every other business in your community. Everybody, whether they're dry cleaners or, aerobic salon. Are there aerobic salons? Is that even a thing? I don't know. Whatever it is.
It may be now. You might have invented it.
It's a hair salon.
Run with that.
It's a hair salon while you work out. You get a haircut. Anyway, I regret all that right now that I just did. So that's what I love about the profits course. Is that if you want to start a business, or you've got a business and you want to take it to the next level, the profits course is remember how I told you why I dropped out of college? Because I didn't want to learn from people who hadn't been there, done that. Right. The profits course is 9 people who have been there, done that at the highest levels of their industries, all of them. And I'm putting myself in that not to be braggadocious, but because I worked my tail off. You say, well, what did I put into my course? My course took 29 years to create. 29 years is what it took me to create that course. I had to do hundreds and hundreds of hours of hard labor to figure out those lessons. I've had to meet and come to build relationships with every imaginable person in television that helped me do what I've done. And so my profits course, although it only takes you a few hours or a day or two, whatever, to get through, if you push, it's taken me 29 years to create it. And so I am really proud of it. I'm only proud of it because, one, I never thought I would share it with anybody. And I told that to Bob. First time that we talked about it. It's hard to say no to Bob Snyder.
Oh, yeah.
It's really hard. But I am one of the few who have done it successfully. Or so I thought.
Yeah.
Because although I understood what he was saying when he said, you've been able to build a system where you can create media on command and save millions of dollars in marketing and build a business and all that. I'm like, yes, I have. And he said, but others could benefit from it. But in my mind, all I hear is potential competitors could benefit from it. It's my unfair advantage, right? Everybody needs one. And it's because I didn't have an abundance mindset, which is just in Bob Snyder's DNA. It's in the Renatus DNA, an abundance mindset. And I hadn't shifted into that. So it took a couple of years, and then he finally convinced me to put it all out there. And by this point, he had been such a massive blessing to our nonprofit foundation. Bob and Renatus have blessed so many families' lives through our foundation. How could I not find a way to somehow give back? And if giving back my 29 years of life trade secrets that I swore I'd take to my grave, if that's the price, then that's the price. And now that I've done it, I feel amazing. I feel so good to finally have put that out there.
Yeah.
And people have it now.
Why does that feel so good for you?
Because I always felt a little bit selfish that I wasn't sharing it.
Yeah.
Because it's so effective. And I did feel bad. And there has been so many people I feel like I should now call and apologize to over the years who have said, I do this thing and it's really important to me and I want to do it more. I want to reach more people. And I could have said, well, let me tell you how you can get on the Today Show. Let me tell you how to get your best-selling book. Let me tell you why you should do it, I didn't. I just was too afraid to let it all out there. So I just feel like I can't fix the problems of the past, but I can make sure that everybody going forward has access to it. So that's rationalizing probably, isn't it?
No, that's what you can do. And I think that's how you give back. And, all of those people, call them up and sell them a profits course.
There you go. Call everybody who knows me. There's your next sale.
So, that's awesome. I do want to put this out there. All right. After the national conference, we had a phenomenal response. Not just to the Profits course, to you in particular.
Wow.
And
was my mom calling over and over and over?
It may have been
400 times.
Thanks,
it
Mom.
makes sense now why
my 8 children.
Why every single person that called referenced Troy Boy. So that makes more sense.
Not just do that.
Sorry. So
there is one person on God's green earth that calls me Troy Boy, and that is my mom. You are no mom.
You're in trouble, Jay.
All right, go ahead.
So we had such a phenomenal response, but I think that the thing that actually surprised me the most was, I think it was the Monday after the national. Bob's like, "Hey, everybody, take the day off," and I get this text from you. It says, "Jay, Profits is amazing. How do we move this thing forward in a powerful way?" And it wasn't that exactly, but you were the first person to reach out to me and say, "Let's go round number 2." So I appreciate how much you have not only put into Profits, but what you continue to put into Profits, how you continue to build value for every single person that wants to learn from somebody who can help them avoid some of the hard knocks.
This is very uncomfortable, but thank you.
Well, I
You
did
look really
because I do feel uncomfortable. Am I getting flushed?
Just kidding.
Is my beard turning gray?
How long have you been uncomfortable?
Seriously, you're still going?
That's how he makes it still go.
That was good. That was
It's because it really is. I don't know how to say it without sounding like a sales pitch, because I'm not trying to make it sound like a sales pitch. The Profits course really is what I wished I'd had when I was 20 years old, trying to start a business.
Yeah.
struggling through the pain of learning everything the hard way. I used to say as a young 20-something, I had the fake Rolex. I had the old Mercedes that my friend helped me change out the logos on it to make it look like a new Mercedes.
You were in Florida?
Yeah.
Did you have one of those the white suits with the white shoes?
Are you watching Miami Vice?
Did you did you roll the sleeves up?
Did you roll the sleeves up?
I did not. I may have popped the collar.
You got your Lamborghini Countach?
No.
Oh,
but
man.
we had nothing. And I was that guy who, because I had a friend who, I remember I told you, be careful of the voices you let in. Shoot the messengers. At least point at them. I had a guy who not conned me, who talked me into the idea of fake it till you make it. None of that turned out to be true to me. I found out only later that the real phrase is, if you fake it, you'll break it. Because people who are where you want to get, people who are where you want to be, they see through that. They recognize that you're hustling them. They recognize that you're faking it.
Yep.
They recognize that you probably have a fake Rolex on, or you're making payments on it, or right. And not that that's what broke me. What broke me was my daughter's cancer. Right. That's when my life flipped into all the priorities, and I realized I didn't give a crap what anybody thought about me, and image meant nothing. And my eyes were puffy 24 hours a day because Jennifer and I were always crying. And I was like, nothing else mattered. So that's what switched me. Now, the Prophets course is filled with education taught by people who have already been there and are bringing you back a map to get there yourself. That is huge. I can honestly say I don't even think that map exists in most colleges today, because a lot of those folks, their career is education. Their career wasn't the business that you're running. The career wasn't in, right? And so they're trying to help you because they've read books about people who've been to the place that you're trying to get to. But the Prophets course is just instructors who have been there and made a map and have brought it back to lay it in your lap and say, here's how you get there. That's why I love it. So that's why I talk about it so much, because I don't think people understand how important it is. Whether you're trying to start a business or you have a business, this is your blueprint.
Yeah.
All right. So it's very interesting to me. Now, we haven't done, thousands of podcasts yet. Give it a couple weeks.
Get there.
And but every person that we've talked to, they all say very similar things. Accountability. Mm-hmm. They say that you need to learn from people that have gone where you want to go.
Right.
And they also say that you need to become the person that can make it where you want to go. As far as like you just said, you can't fake it until you make it.
Right.
You have to be that person, not necessarily with the Rolex or with the Mercedes or anything else, but you have to be the person that can get there.
You have to be prepared for the success. You have to be that person that can actually handle it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think a lot of people fantasize that they'll become that person once they get there. Like, you know what?
Right.
I don't really work out, but you know what? When I've got a bunch of money and I can afford a gym in my house, I'm going to totally be that fitness guy. I don't really spend a lot of time with my kids, but you know what? When I finally get enough money, I'm going to be at every soccer game. I'm sure. They imagine themselves being the best version of themselves after they get to some destination. And what they don't understand is that destination cannot even be achieved until you become that person. Yep. So you might as well start right here, right now, become the best version of yourself in every way possible, and watch how fast that accelerates you right to the space you want to be in.
Oh,
that is good.
That there's so many different times during the national conference that exact idea came to light. Whether it was Michael Huggins who was talking about it, or Bob Tierney, or you, or Mr. Snyder. I mean, just talking about becoming now the person you want to be.
Sure.
Because getting to some made up ending point of so many dollars in the bank or whatever that's not the end, right? And so we should focus on the here, the now, who we are, and what we're creating in our lives now, so that we become the person that we can be, that we want to be, that can make it there.
That's right.
So like I was saying, it's accountability, it's learning from people that have been there, and it's authenticity.
Money will not make you a better husband, and it will not make you a better father. You make you a better husband and a better father. It will not make you a better citizen in the community. Money will not make you a more reliable person. It will not even make you a healthier person.
Right.
It will just make you whatever you are with money.
I've seen it over and over again. People that did not and have not ever had a lot of money in their life.
Yeah.
And then inside of maybe a few years, they really become successful, and they're making hundreds, if not millions of dollars a year, hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars a year. And it's always amazing to me to see the people that are ready for it versus the people that are not. But in all cases, it magnifies who they are. The money doesn't make them a better person all it does is magnify who they really are.
Well,
If they're
I
a
am
good
a
person.
full believer in that. I believe if you are a generous person with $1, you're generous with $1 million. And if you're a greedy SOB with $1, you're a greedy SOB with $1 million.
I've seen it over and over.
You know, there's a what's his name? What's the hold on. What's the country music star? Garth Brooks. So there's a Garth Brooks song. You clean that up, right? There's a Garth Brooks song that I don't know the exact title, but one of the lines in the song is "Thank God for unanswered prayers." And there are people who cannot understand why they haven't achieved what they thought they would have achieved by this point in life. But the ugly reality is you should be grateful you haven't, because you're not ready.
Yep.
There's something that would have not happened or would have been terrible or destructive had you gotten to where you wanted to before, as you said, before you were ready. And so if you're sitting there going, yeah, but I'm getting old and life is passing me by, then stop looking at the destination and turn around and look down around yourself and say, what is it here in my now moment that isn't ready yet? What do I need to get ready? And how fast can I get it ready? Where's the mentor? Who's my mentor that's going to help me get my whatever that is,
right.
My physical self ready, my relationships need to be more stabilized, whatever that is, your moral compass, your values, your priorities, right? All your spending habits, whatever it is, something isn't ready. And had you gotten there too soon, it would have been destructive, and you would have slid back way past where you are now.
Right.
So thank God for unanswered prayers. And if you want the next prayer to be answered the way you want it, then get yourself ready to receive it.
You know, Bob likes to say that money is an accelerator, for better, for worse. Whoever you are, like you said, a magnifier, Bob likes to call it an accelerator. And that's exactly what it is. And I think too often people try to take the experiences that they collect in this life and say, they use their experience to define them. But our experience, it's not a definition of who we are. Our experiences, they're a revelation of who we are. They reveal who we are. We are that person
Especially the bad experiences.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody can fake anything when they're having a good day, right? Everybody's confident and motivated when things are perfect. Put yourself in a position where tragedy is nearby and you're having to walk between it and through it and survive it. Now we find out who you are.
And the mundane. As Iron Cowboy said in his speech, I love it. Like, just being able to make it through the mundane daily task, day in, day out, for years that you might have to do to get there, and becoming what is the quote? It's fantastic.
He says
that was pretty good, though.
The ability to, I'm going to get it wrong again. I quoted this last week. The ability to the ability to engage in regular maintenance of the mundane is a decidedly underrated superpower. Yes. Something right along those lines.
That was actually pretty close to whatever it is. But I swear we need to hang that bad boy somewhere.
Yes, we do.
So, yes.
You know, this whole conversation that we've had has been filled with just nuggets of gold, to the point where this has been just a little treasure trove of truth.
It's content dense.
You are trying to work the word dense into this, aren't you?
You know what? He bet me $5 before we started that
you did it. You got dense in there.
I'm just kidding.
How to use a negative as a positive.
But you know, this has been such an amazing conversation, and I could talk to you all day long.
All day.
Oh.
I love how you share, what you share, and just how willing you are to share. So thank you.
Thank you. You know what? I don't want to sound falsely humble. so many people, including Bob Snyder, including you, have poured into me in my life that I don't know how anybody doesn't pour it back out, right? I'm grateful to do it. I'm grateful to help anybody who says they want to talk through something. I mean, I don't think we get through this thing without each other, whatever this thing is.
Yeah.
I do
Right.
believe, it could be the college football player in me, but I do believe life is a team sport. And when you stop trying to be the superstar and you just try to play your role on the team, you'll find that success comes faster.
Yeah.
Nice. Oh, I love it.
That is great.
You know, I have loved having you here, and I would love to have you back sooner than later, just because I just love talking
Like
with
a
you.
Garth Brooks song, I Want You Back.
Wait.
I'm just kidding. I don't know if that's a Garth
What?
Brooks song, but
Our
it sounds
apologies
like it
to
could
Garth
be.
Brooks.
Garth Brooks was not
I'm sure that there's a country
compensated.
artist out there that's.
Thought he was
I'm
gonna
gonna Google it.
Thought he was gonna go with "I've got friends in low
That's
places."
where I was going.
I've got friends in low.
That's for when you come back.
Nice.
Yeah, I can't wait
Yeah.
for that.
Well, you know what, Troy? Thank
Yes.
you for being our guest today. Thank
Thanks,
you
bud.
for sharing just without any reservations and constantly being willing to serve and to give. I appreciate you being here. Matt, thank you as always for showing up and just making this podcast pop. You're the best co-host in the world, man.
Thank you. We've got to have a left turn somewhere.
You gotta have a left turn somewhere.
Thank you,
and
Jay.
on that note, that has been our show. My name is Jay Stark. Renatus rocks.
It's the Renatus J.A.M.
No, it's Renatus. Matthew,
The
we've been
show
doing this for
is called
4.
J.A.M. J.A.M.
Renatus rocks and jams.
And
Oh, we rock the jam.